Christmas. A time for family. A time for sharing memories. A time for coming home.
You can be seated. And I'd like to open us up in prayer this afternoon. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And Father, I pray, Lord, a thanks before we even start today for Carl Walk and for his life and for everything that he has left us, the legacy that he has left behind that we'll be talking about today. And I thank you so much for these people that you've gathered here to celebrate his life and to mourn his passing. And I pray that we would honor him well today. So we look to you for your love and your guidance and your comfort. In Jesus' name, amen. So good afternoon. My name is David Shelton, and I am Carl's son-in-law. On behalf of our family here, I want to thank everybody for being here with us today to remember Carl Walk. Carl Walk, just from his obituary here, Carl Walk, at the age of 87, passed away on Monday, December 9th, 2024, at Oak Leaf Manor in Roswell, Georgia, surrounded by his loving family. He was born March 3rd, 1937 in Newark, New Jersey. He was the biological son of the late John Walk and Helen Wasserman Walk. He was raised by his loving parents, Harold and Ann Evans, in Morristown, New Jersey. He was also preceded in death by his loving wife, Elise Walk, and his brother, Joseph Walk. Carl was a veteran of the United States Army. He was a graduate of Fairleigh Dickinson University, and I just heard the first Fairleigh Dickinson alumni that has been in this funeral home. He was an insurance claim adjuster with United Claims Service, and for as far back as he could remember, and probably any of us that knew him could remember, the biggest St. Louis Cardinals fan that there was out there. He is survived by his children, daughter Veronica Shelton and her husband David, that's me. Grandchildren Erica and Logan, daughter Christina DeRosier and her husband Mark, grandchildren Ashley, Nancy, Lewis, William, Vivian, and Mark, son Matthew Walk and his wife Sarah, and grandchildren Preston and Scarlett. Son Andrew Walk, who unfortunately could not be with us today. I just found out he cracked his head open, and so he's concussed and couldn't make the plane. So if you're watching at home, Andrew, get well soon. And then daughter Margaret Richards and her husband Nate, grandchildren Rhiannon, Angelina, Kira, Natalie, Cynthia, and Evelyn Rodriguez, and Nathan, Jack, and Charlotte Richards. So, as you can see, Carl has left this grand legacy in the form of this loving family, and today we're gathered here to honor his legacy and to mourn together the loss of such a special person. So, we want to thank you again for being here with us, for offering your support, your comfort, while we grieve this loss and celebrate this life of the man who has impacted so many of us, either directly or indirectly. Personally, just from me to him, I really appreciate the way that Carl always respected me. He showed me kindness. Even back when I first met him, I was this 18-year-old kid. I was your age, Logan. I was an 18-year-old kid coming home from college to visit my girlfriend in New Jersey, and he showed me this kindness and respect, even though I was, I think, the first person that his daughter ever brought home to meet him. So that was pretty amazing that he still, you know, he wasn't waiting on the porch with the shotgun telling me I'd better behave myself or anything like that. He was just so nice. And then, I mean, he didn't like that I didn't know how to shovel snow. I mean, it wasn't my fault. I'm from the South. When it snows here, we let it melt. You know, it's like we take a school day. You guys are out there shoveling this driveway and the streets and go to school anyway. So, but we got over that. And I remember a few years later when Veronica and I were engaged, and we told him, and I mean, if you know him, this is so characteristic of him. He takes his hat, that cap that he always wore, and he grabs it and he just kind of balls it up really tightly in a fist, and he looks at me and he goes, "David, I like you. What in the world would you want to join this family? Do you know what you're getting yourself into?" He really did. That's true. That was his exact response. But no, I did not heed his warning. I did not. I was totally infatuated with his daughter, and I decided, you know, everything else is just going to work itself out. I don't have to worry about all that so much. And honestly, looking back over the last 30 years since that time, I can say that I wouldn't trade this family in for anything in the world. So thank you guys for welcoming me into your family just like your dad did. And I am still totally infatuated with his daughter, so it might just be that. I don't know. But I am honored that he allowed me to be part of his legacy. I really am, I am honored by that. And at this time, I would ask that you would join me in taking a look at his legacy through a tribute video we've put together. Ah, there it is. I'm like, where is the screen? Okay, so yeah, a tribute video that we've put together just to kind of show you a little bit of happier times. know that was playing in the visiting room, but it's the first time I got to see it. Wow, thank you guys for putting that together, just showing us a little glimpse of, of Carl's life and the love he shared with his family. I think that came through pretty well in those pictures, video. Thank you. Now, I would like to invite Margaret and Nate to come up. They're going to share a special song with us. I'm going to get over here where you can't hear my voice.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to feel, and grace my fear relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. The Lord has promised good to me. His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be, as long as life endures. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. Yea, when this flesh and heart shall fail, and mortal life shall cease, I shall possess within the veil a life of joy and peace. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Thank you, guys. Margaret, that was beautiful. I told you not to make me cry. It's going to be payback for that later. Thank you. Matthew, if you're ready, could you come up and share the eulogy with us?
Hi, everybody. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. It means a lot. Carl Walk, our father, grandfather, friend, has passed. I will miss him dearly. I know this might sound a bit odd, but I'd like to take a brief moment to reflect on why we are all here today. The root theme, if you will. The simple answer is love. The love of a fellow human being, a special one to all of us, each in our own ways. I'd like to take some time to share with you some of the things that our father loved, which may help you get a deeper understanding of his heart. I'm sure some of these you probably already knew about, as my father wasn't shy about sharing his likes and his dislikes. Wow. So I had a whole thing that I was going to do that was very similar to what you did, and I'm not going to copy. I'm just going to start off with one person here, and it's just Elise, his wife. First of all, our father loved his family. Elise, his wife, his best friend in life, his true love on earth. We will all miss you dearly, Mom. And I do have to say, Veronica, their beautiful first child, her amazing husband, David, and their lovely children, Eric and Logan. I'm doing it. I can't help it. Yeah, Chrissy, their beautiful second child, and her amazing husband, Mark, and their lovely children, Ashley, Nancy, Lewis, William, Vivian, and Mark. Matthew, their third beautiful child, the luckiest man alive. Married to beautiful Sarah, and blessed with our lovely children, Preston and Scarlett. Scarlett has pneumonia right now, so if you could all please just say a quick prayer for her to feel better and get better. And I know they wanted to be here, but they're here in spirit. I love you guys. Andrew, their beautiful fourth child, an amazing brother, uncle, and person. Margaret, their beautiful fifth child, and her amazing husband, Nate, and their lovely children, Nathan, Jack, Charlotte, Rhiannon, Angelina, Kira, Natalie, Cynthia, Evelyn. Sorry, did I miss any? No? Okay, you guys aren't children either? No, just kidding. Wow. It's awesome when you have to take a breath when you're saying the names of children. That's a good sign. My father and mother loved and cherished their amazing neighbors for their kindness and friendship. Our entire family is very deeply grateful for our parents' lovely neighbors. My dad loved music, classical music, Rossini, Chuck Berry, Fats Domino, country music, and even bagpipes. He loved nature, hiking in beautiful places, wildflowers, planting and caring for flowers at his home. Daddy loved food just as much as the rest of us. He was a huge fan of Rainier cherries, cashews, almonds, and nuts in general. Peaches, apples, grapes, fruit juice, poppy seed rolls, mashed potatoes, gelato, Calandra's bread, and especially mesquite turkey sandwiches with thin white bread, Veronica. Is that right? All right, inside joke there, but I'll tell you guys later if you're interested. Dad loved long, adventurous road trips, very similar to National Lampoon's Vacation movie, which, coincidentally, he took us, the whole family to, at a young age, to see at a drive-in theater, and he laughed. I still remember to this day, he laughed so hard, he was coughing and almost choking. We actually had a very similar family experience to that movie on our first trip to Atlanta, so please ask us about it sometime if you'd like to hear a fun story. On any given Saturday morning, Dad would wake up and say, "Kids, do you want lobster tonight?" And we'd drive from New Jersey to Portsmouth, New Hampshire on a Saturday morning, enjoy a lobster dinner, and drive home that same night. I mean, that's pretty awesome. And scary, all in one. He loved Halifax, Nova Scotia, and if it weren't so cold there, I'm sure he and our mother would have moved there. Our father loved to laugh. He loved comedy, Saturday Night Live, Jackie Mason, Seinfeld, Rodney Dangerfield, and many other sitcoms and movies. One really special personality trait was that our father laughed at himself frequently, and we all have to admit he had plenty of material to work with. As we all do, right? But in all seriousness, laughing at oneself is a true blessing. My father loved animals, dogs, horses, but especially birds. Peppy, our family pet parakeet, used to land on our dad's shoulder and sing to us as children. Dad loved songbirds in general. He loved penguins. And this is my favorite story that he ever told me. This little barred rock chicken on his way to elementary school when he was a little boy, for whatever reason, this chicken saw my dad and loved him and used to just follow my dad to school almost every day, and my dad loved that little chicken. Dad deeply loved his adopted parents, Harold and Ann Evans, and his hometown that he grew up in Morristown, New Jersey. He loved sports in general, particularly baseball and basketball. He loved playing basketball and wishes that he'll be 6 foot tall someday. I think I'm forgetting something. Oh yeah, he also kind of liked the St. Louis Cardinals and their beautiful namesake bird, which happens to be the mascot of my son Preston's Lincoln High School in Portland, Oregon, the Cardinals. I believe our father loved America and wanted the best for our country and everyone around the world. He wanted to help the less fortunate and would do anything to help when the opportunity arose. My father was passionate about his devotion to God, Jesus, and the Catholic Church. Although my father had many special moments of joy and pure love during his life, a majority of it was very hard for him and consequently hard for anyone close to him. During the last few weeks, our family had many talks with him about his life and shared our points of view to help him understand different perspectives. I am so very proud to say that he was able to understand, truly understand, and embrace love at that point. He was kind and loving to his children, which was wonderful, but the truly amazing thing to see was how he treated total strangers. He would wave, he would blow kisses, he was thankful and appreciative. That's the sign of a loving, contented, happy soul, when they begin a relationship with someone new with nothing but love. I aspire to be that way as much as I can. Excuse me. Throughout our amazing lives, these unbelievable, individually unique journeys, there are many common things people need to learn in life. How to sit up, how to crawl, how to walk and learn what those noises are that those other beings are making with their mouths. How to read, how to do math, how to drive a car, how to earn a living. So many things. And we can't make it day to day without using those life lessons that we've learned. I love that my father taught me many things in addition to the day-to-day survival lessons. He taught me about passion. He taught me about devotion, intelligence, thinking of others, respect, self-sacrifice, dedication, determination. Andrew and I, you'll never find another person in the world like Andrew and I when it comes to dedication, determination. Never give up, strength, doing the right thing even when everyone else around you doesn't. And that's you too, Andrew. You're the best. One lesson that I believe we don't have to learn, but we have to try to remember more often is how to lead with love. My sister Chrissy and her husband used to live in a magical place, Hawaii, where the natives greet one another with a phrase that I'm sure you've probably heard before, aloha. The beautiful thing about that word is in addition to being an equivalent of saying hi, it also means love, affection, peace, compassion, and mercy. Think about how wonderful that is to greet friends, family, strangers with a saying that lets them know that you love them to begin with. I'd like us all to set a goal to try to reconnect with love more often in our hearts. What does it mean to be a loving husband, a loving wife, a loving father, a loving mother, a loving son, a loving daughter, a loving friend, a loving neighbor, a loving stranger to people we don't know, and most of all, loving yourself so that you can have the strength and the right frame of mind to share that gift with others. As we gather here to mourn the loss of my father, it would be remiss of me not to recognize the loss of my second father, Fred Howlett. At a time in my life when I needed a home, stability, freedom from fear, family, unconditional love, Fred Howlett and his family took me into their arms with overflowing love. How lucky I am to have had them in my life, and how lucky I am to have two fathers, and will always cherish you, Fred Howlett. We can all be who we truly want to be if we spend more time falling in love with our hearts and sharing that with everyone, what makes us all unique. That's what we share with everyone. During my father's rehabilitation stay a few weeks ago, I was lucky enough to have met a special person who shared with me his life's motto, which I connect with so very deeply. Try to find the special things you love about people in your life and emulate them with others. That's the best gift that you can give the person who shared those feelings with you to begin with. I just looked up the definition of emulate because I wasn't even sure I used the right word. Emulate means to match or surpass, typically by imitation. Lesser men trying to emulate his greatness. I love the notion of surpassing too. Don't just copy. You can copy what other people have showed you in life that you think is loving, but innovate with your love. What makes it special about your connection with the people around you, your neighbors, your family and friends, the things that you know about them that nobody else does. That's the specialness. That's the fun part to bring your heart into. Yes, emulate was the right word, Matthew. Flying over the country on my way here, I kept repeating the phrase, we are all in this together. Family, friends, neighbors, strangers, so-called enemies, nature, animals, earth, all of the universe. I try to find patterns in things to better understand them. If you take the first letter from each word in we are all in this together, it spells wait, which phonetically sounds like wait, but stretched out for emphasis like wait. So I think going forward, I'm going to use that acronym along with my favorite word, love, to help guide me through difficult times. Wait, we are all in this together, love. And if you take a step back and try to use that, I think that could be something really powerful. Think about love during those rough times to help you pull through. When I remember my father, I will cherish the moments where he showed his heart. My favorite being the times our whole family laid down together quietly by the warm, enchanting fireplace. My gift to him for being my father will be to show him how happy and grateful I am to be alive with all of you. Please let me know if I'm ever going astray. In a loving way, we all need those pointers. I love you, Daddy, and can't wait to race you up that gymnasium rope someday. Amor omnium, which is Latin for love of all. Ti amo, pater. This is Latin for I love you, Dad. Thank you, everybody.
Wow, Matthew, that was really special. Thanks so much for those words, full of kindness, full of wisdom beyond your years, man. Really appreciate it. So now, we want to invite any of the other family who have a reflection or a memory that they would like to share, come up and share that with us.
Sorry, I'm not that tall. I'm reading this on behalf of my beautiful sister, Christina. She wanted to say, I remember Dad used to call me Chrissy Tuna and said I was so small he would put me in his shirt pocket and carry me around with him. That was a nice memory of how he could be very loving and cute at the same time. Dad always spoke his mind, and no one had to guess what he was thinking. The good thing about that is I always knew where he stood with him, good or bad. He was extremely honest and caring. He was also very outspoken. One of the things I'll miss most is his weird sense of humor. Like when he put on 3 baseball hats on his head at once and turned them in different directions so that the bills would be facing out all in different ways. He thought that was really funny. He also thought it was funny when our mom used to say, "Why can't you grow taller?" One year we went to Myrtle Beach for Thanksgiving. Dad and Mom got to see their grandchildren play on the beach, and they really enjoyed it. I will miss Dad very much, and he will be in my heart forever. That's from Chrissy. Okay, now I have to figure out what to say. Okay, so the word that kept coming into my mind when describing my father is strength. From the moment he was born, he was thrust into a cruel world where his biological father was an alcoholic and his mother suffered from mental illness. So he went to live in a foster home. Although his foster family tried to love him, they never, it wasn't the same as having a family that, adopts you and brings you into the family. So he had to struggle with this feeling of never really knowing if he belonged or if he was loved. And I just admire his courage because for a long time when I grew up, I thought I never want to get married. And then I met David. But, it's hard, if you have a hard upbringing, you're like, and you don't see a good example of marriage, it's scary to jump into that. But my dad met my mom, and he had the courage to pursue her and win her over, and they got married. And they had some hard times, even so much so that they were divorced for 14 years. But even during that time, when reconnecting with my father, and he was isolated and alone, he never gave up hope. He always said, how could I stop being in love? And he always held out hope that he would reconnect with my mom someday, and by a miracle of God, they did. And they got back together, and my dad had his moments of being a stubborn, hard-headed pain in the butt, which we all know, but there was a softness to him because he saw that he got another chance, and he was willing to try, and my mom gave him another chance, but he still kind of had this, desire to give and receive love, but something wasn't connected. It's almost like a plug that wasn't plugged in, and he didn't understand. He knew what he should be able to do, but he just didn't know why he couldn't do it. And then he found out my mom had cancer, and it was stage 4, and it was a rapid decline. She only lasted 6 months. And as he saw her body giving over to the cancer, something just clicked in him because he saw her and he saw her suffering. And then he just broke down on my shoulder and wept and said, I finally understand the love of Jesus and his sacrifice and his suffering. Because look at her, she can't do anything and she still puts up with my crap and she never gave up on me. Why? I don't understand. Why would she love me this way? And it just put this flesh on a message that he had heard all of his life in church. And it was all these rules and do this and don't do that, but he could never let the love in. And then he did. And he used to say to me, after that happened, I don't understand. I can't be the man I want to be. I'm fighting. I'm struggling. I know that I should be more loving. I know that I should treat these people this way. And I said, Dad, at least you're in the fight now. Before you didn't even know there was a fight. So it's a battle going on in your soul, but Jesus is ultimately victorious and you are not alone. And I saw his whole demeanor change. He would ask me how I was doing on the phone, and I'm like, what? You want to know how I'm doing? Things like that, where it was just such a change of focus on others. He genuinely cared, and he wanted good for all of his grandchildren. Every time I saw him, he would go through the entire list of grandchildren. I'm not forgetting anyone. How are they doing? And he never gave up on anyone. And then just even seeing him in this facility and having to, as a man, face having other people care for you and clean you and dress you, and having to accept that with kindness and humility and apologizing to them for having to do this kind of job. It was a different man. And I just for the past couple of weeks, had this lament in my heart like, God, I just want to enjoy this man. Like, I want to take him on vacations. I want to do things with him. I want to get to know him. And God said to me, in heaven, you will do that. You have all of eternity to be with him. It's okay. Like, this is not the end. And then I told my dad about that, and he started crying, and he said, that sounds wonderful. So I know I will see him again, and I know that all of us that miss him right now, it's not the end of the story. In Christ, you will see him again. And a new, better dad dancing with my mom in heaven. No more crying, no more sickness, no more suffering. It is finished. So we just have to look forward to that day. Even though we're sad, he's not sad. He's with her. And we can rejoice in that and look forward to the day we're going to see them again. Yes.
Thanks, Veronica. I do remember that conversation. I was there for that. Beautiful. Would anyone else here today like to share a thought, a memory? I don't want to miss anybody. Yes.
I'm probably not going to be able to be very eloquent, and I'm not sure my thoughts will connect nicely, but I wanted to share some memories of Carl, especially with his family, so that you could see him through somebody else's eyes. I apologize. My name is Pat Small, and I was Carl's neighbor, or Carl was my neighbor, I should say. I remember vividly the first time I met Carl. You'll appreciate the story. Sorry. It was one of the hottest days that summer. And I looked outside, and Carl was using a regular mower to mow his lawn. And I was very concerned. And so I went out, and I talked to Carl and said, we have a riding mower. I'd be happy to loan it to you. No. I'd be happy to mow your lawn for you. No. Carl was, I'm not sure if the correct phrase is fiercely independent, but he felt like he should not only do things for himself, but he should do things for other people rather than allowing them to do things for him. And that did make it sometimes frustrating to be Carl's neighbor. But there are a few things that I will never forget about Carl. And it's important for his family, they know this, but it's important for them to remember it. He so fiercely loved Elise. And they are together in heaven. I firmly believe that. He loved God and Jesus and the Catholic faith. As Veronica mentioned, Carl and Elise were divorced for several years. And Carl told me every single day of that time, he prayed the rosary. That's how deep his faith was and how deep his love for Elise was. And the last thing I'll leave you with No, I guess it's not the last thing, but I will remember teasingly joking with Carl about him putting up his hummingbird feeders and stealing my hummingbirds. I will remember that it felt so good when Carl, when we were saying goodbye to each other, would tell me that he loved me, and I could tell him that I loved him too, and I did. When I see a cardinal, I will remember Carl. He was, yes, many things, difficult being one of them, but he was a loving man, and he was a good neighbor.
Thank you so much. And I'll just say this about Pat too. So there's neighbors like the person that lives next to you, and then there's neighbors, and Pat was a neighbor. In fact, that whole community, I saw that from a lot of people there, and we really appreciate that. We do. Who else would, anyone else like to share a thought or a memory? Don't want to miss anyone. Yeah, come on up.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm one of his grandchildren. One of the things I really liked about Grandpa was he would take me and all my siblings to a rock shop, and he would show us all the pretty rocks because Grandma would really love, because they have a big display case in their house, and he would show us all the beautiful rocks every time we went and visited him. I remember one of the last times we went, he made us breakfast, and he had us try this really interesting tasting plant-based bacon. We all ate it, you know, and I asked him one time why he liked it so much, and he was like, because it's so much better for you, you know, and I told him I liked it, and he kept giving me more, and one of the things that I also remember is he would always, right before we would leave, he would take us outside to see all of his pretty flowers outside of his house, and there was one time that there was a bee, and he's just like, they just want to be your friend. And I ended up getting stung anyway, so. I didn't get to see him a lot. We usually went up during the summertime, but as he got older, we had Thanksgiving with him and saw him during any time we could. And when I ended up moving to Massachusetts, and I didn't get to see him before he passed away, and I wish I did. I really loved him. I really cared about him. He always had the best kind of jokes, and it was those jokes that you really didn't get until after. But I think he's happy where he is now, and I hope he rests well where he is.
Thanks so much. Again, even those of you that didn't get to see him there at the end, I know that you were in his hearts. So, anyone else? All right. Is my Aunt Linda's church says, all of our hearts and minds clear. Oh, we've got one more. Yes. Come up. Thank you.
My name is Mark DeRosier. One of the things I really liked about Grandpa was that he was really funny. And when we stayed over at his house, every morning, my sister Nancy, my sister Vivian, and I heard him get up like, and that was really funny. And when I was eating breakfast, I didn't want to drink anything because on the table there was all this medicine and stuff, and I could see this water on the table. I didn't know what it was. So I didn't want to drink anything. So I really loved Grandpa. I really liked his jokes, and I'll always remember him.
Chrissy and Mark, y'all got a natural speaker on your hands. I'll tell you what. Wow. Anyone else? Yes. No? I thought I saw a hand. No. Okay. All right. Again, wanted to make sure I gave everybody an opportunity to share. So I did have one more reflection just to close us out here today. Just a conversation that I had with Carl, the last conversation I had with Carl, when he was, he had already closed his eyes for the last time, but, you know, like Matthew had said, we could tell he was, I think Veronica had alluded to this too, we could tell he was hearing us. His eyes, his eyebrows would twitch, his nose would twitch, maybe even little nods. So I could tell he was listening. And so just to set this up a little, conversation up a little bit, every year at Christmas time, for the past, what we've been doing it like 30 years or something like that. My family goes to this, the Grove Park Inn in Nashville. And we have this feast, this buffet that they have at the Blue Ridge Dining Hall. And it's just like every gourmet type of food, the farm-to-table kind of things that you could possibly think of. The dessert buffet was longer than 2 of these pews probably. I mean, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous amount of food, all made just gourmet. We enjoy that every year. And the last couple of years, we were able to get Carl to come with us. To that. And, you know, I could tell, you know, he enjoyed it. It was something that he looked forward to. But this year, just after Thanksgiving, it was time to make the reservation. But by then, we had put Carl into the group home near us in Roswell. And I knew that his health had declined to the point where he wasn't going to be able to be with us that year. Or at least I was pretty sure, you know, miracles can happen, but they just didn't this time. So I knew he would miss this year's feast. And that sat heavy on my heart. Full honesty here, there were mixed emotions. On the one hand, I wanted to bring him, you know, I wanted to share that experience with him. But there was also a darker part of my heart that was like, last year it was really hard having him there. I mean, really hard. He started, you know, when you get to a certain age, you start kind of going backwards in your development, and he was like kind of having like a toddler experience. Everything we put in front of him, I don't like that. I want something else. Or why didn't they have my favorite soup? I thought they were going to have my favorite soup. And I mean, I'm from the South. I'm looking for someone to say, well, bless you, thank you for bringing me here first, and then start complaining about if you don't like the food. But no, that wasn't the experience. So honestly, there was part of my heart that was kind of relieved that we didn't have to do that year. But now, it's like that was just a really stubborn, dark part of me that I have to work on, because I would love to have him there and share that experience with us again this year. But as I sat there with him on his deathbed, I said, Carl, got right in his ear where he could hear me, and I said, Carl, I just made reservations for the Grove Park. Doesn't look like you're going to make it with us this year, man, but I was just reminded about the Bible story of Jesus as he's being crucified, and there's two thieves on either side of him. One of them is mocking him, saying, why don't you just get down from here? And the other one is saying, well, leave him alone. We deserve to be up here. He's innocent and has done nothing wrong, and he doesn't deserve to be in here. Remember me when you come into your kingdom. And that was pretty much the extent of that conversation. I mean, they were dying at the time. That's all they could do. And so I reminded Carl of that thief on the cross, and I said, when you go into, after this world, when you leave this world, and you stand before the threshold of heaven, and you're waiting to be entered into what Revelation's called, blessed are those who are invited to the marriage supper of the Lamb. So when you get to the marriage supper of the Lamb, and you could see just an angel maitre d' coming up and saying, Carl Walk, what are you doing here? I know you. I know how you've lived. I want you to tell them. I want you to look at them and tell them, I can be here and I can be at that table because the man at the head of the table invited me. And that was the invitation that he received. And then I told him, I said, when you get there and you sit down, I want you to save me a seat. I want you to save me a seat because I don't know how much longer I have here on this side of eternity. I don't know when I'm going to be finished, but when I am, I'm going to be standing, approaching that same table, and that same set of angel maitre d's will be coming up to me and saying, why do you get to be at this table? And my answer is going to be the same as yours. Not, well, didn't you hear that I spoke at Carl's funeral, or wow, I was just a really good husband, which, I'm trying, or I was a really good dad, which I'm trying just like he was, and it looked different between me and him. And our theologies look different, but we talked about this particular story a lot, and we agreed on this, that the thing is that the reason that we get to go to that marriage feast is because we were invited by the guy at the head of the table. So when it's my turn, and they come to me and they say, David Shelton, look, I know you talked a good game, but we know you for real. Why do you think you get to be here? I'm like, just go talk to the guy at the head of the table. He invited me. And then I'm going to go sit down next to my father-in-law, and I'm going to be there with him. That is the hope. That's the hope that I have. And that's the hope that I have, that I'll see him again, and that he heard me, and that's what is happening, or has happened right now, is he has entered into that kingdom, into that world, and he has so much better of a feast to enjoy than what we're going to enjoy in a couple of weeks at the Grove Park. It's a weird thing. It was the ham soup he liked. I don't know where that really lands, with the Jewish thing and everything. I don't know. But I'm sure whatever it is, and we'll talk afterwards. I actually had a really good conversation with somebody about the food at the feast, but that's a whole sermon. We'll not get into that today, but I do know this. I know that he'll be tasting perfect food with perfect taste buds at a perfect setting, and he'll be so awed with the love that, like you were saying, Matthew, the love that's going to be at that table, surrounding that table, emanating for the person at the head of the table, that he probably isn't even going to be able to eat, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And I just wanted to share that with you, to give you a little bit of comfort, knowing that if nothing else, Carl believed that he was going to be at a better place. And so I believe that that is the hope that he wanted. That's part of that legacy I was talking about. That's the legacy that he wanted to pass down to his children, to his grandchildren, to his great-grandchildren, to his great-great-grandchildren, for many generations to come, to his friends, to his neighbors, to everybody that he touched. That's the real legacy that he wanted to pass down, was he wanted to give you hope and give you a love in the form of hope. So with that, I'm going to close this in prayer. After I pray, we're going to, the family's going to be back, recessed back to the visiting room, and then if you guys want to all come and assemble there and give your condolences, and before you leave, that would be greatly appreciated. And I did want to thank you all again for being here with us. Father, we thank you so much for this time that we get to celebrate Carl, get to celebrate his family, get to have these fond memories, and also hopefully that we get to leave here a little bit closer with you and with each other as we struggle, because it is a hard time to lose somebody. It is a hard time to look at our own life and the people that are left here. But that is a good thing. It is a good thing to struggle. It is a good thing to realize that we're not here forever. It's a good thing to realize that we need to love as hard as we can while we can. And so I look to you to help me do that, and everybody else here today too. So I pray this to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pray you'll be our guide and watch us where we go, and help us to be wise in times when we don't know. Let this be our prayer when we lose our way. Lead us to a place, guide us with your grace, to a place where we'll be safe.
La luce che tu dai
I pray we'll find your light
nel cuore resterà
and hold it in our heart.
a ricordarci che
When stars go out each night,
l'eterna stella sei.